In this video, we'll learn how to make selections in Photoshop using the Quick Selection tool. This tool is really nice for making selections because it's mostly automatic and it's very intuitive to use. To help us practice, I've got two files open in Photoshop, mountain.jpg and collagetemplate.psd. Those are both in the demo files for this week. The Quick Selection tool works best for selecting objects that have distinct edges without lots of detail in the edge. So these mountains in our demo file are perfect candidates. Look at how crisp those edges are between the mountain and the sky. And I'd like to select those mountains to copy into my collage template. Let's activate the Quick Selection tool, and that's under our Auto Select Tools submenu. So I'll click and hold on Object Selection tool, then click to activate Quick Selection tool. Let's look up in the status bar. There's not a ton of detailed settings for this tool, which is one of its benefits. You do want to make sure that you check this Enhance Edge feature, and that will refine your selection after you make it so that it gets the best possible match to the edge. The Quick Selection tool uses a brush cursor. That's the little circle that you see here on a canvas. And we click and drag it to paint a selection in the area that we'd like to select. You want to set a brush diameter that fits inside the shape that you're selecting without being so small that you'll spend lots of time painting the selection. Right now this looks a little bit small. To change the diameter of that brush cursor, I can use the bracket keys. Those are the two keys to the right of the P key on your keyboard. So if I tap the right bracket, the cursor gets bigger. If I tap the left bracket, it gets smaller. Once you set your cursor, you just need to click and drag. So you can see as I hold down and drag out into these areas that are unselected, Photoshop is searching the image for edges and expanding the selection to meet them. So it's already doing a really good job of selecting that mountain that's in the foreground, so I'll let go of my cursor for now. I'd also like to select that one that's in the middle ground. Quick Selection has a really nice feature where it automatically switches selection mode for you. So when you start the tool, you'll be in New Selection mode. After you click and drag to make one selection, you'll automatically jump into Add to Selection mode. So you don't even need to worry about switching yourself or holding Shift as you draw. So I'm already in Add to Selection mode. That means I just need to click and drag to get the rest of my selection. And that's looking pretty good. Now I'll go up to the Edit menu, click on Copy, then click on our Collage Template tab, then click Edit, Paste from the menu bar. So you can see I get really nice distinct edges, and Photoshop was able to do that for me automatically. So let's go back to our mountain image by clicking on its tab, and I'll clear out the selection by clicking Select, Deselect from the menu bar. Now let's try making a selection with a shape that maybe won't work as well. So again, those mountains are kind of the perfect candidate for the Quick Selection tool. Very nice distinct edges without a lot of detail or variation on the edge. What if I wanted to select these trees in the foreground and maybe that darker patch of grass? So let's see if we can use Quick Select to do that. Right now my cursor is a little bit large for those shapes, so I'm going to click my left bracket key a couple times and drop that down. Then just click and drag. And I can see, looks like it's getting lost a little bit. A tree is probably one of the most difficult shapes for the Quick Selection tool to handle. Lots of tiny details in the edges. It's very hard to have every single branch in focus, so it's really not going to do so well with shapes like this where we don't have a distinct edge. And if I zoom in, you can see how soft some of those edges are. Now, I could try to work with this. Maybe I'll try to remove some of those over-selected areas. I'll switch to Subtract from Selection mode. I could also just hold down Alt or Option on the keyboard and try to correct it. So now I'm just clicking and dragging to remove from that selection. And in some places it's doing an okay job, but I can see it's just really having a hard time with those trees. So for the right kind of shape, Quick Selection tool is awesome. But for shapes with softer edges or more detail on the edge, other tools might be better fits, or you might need to build the selection in stages using selection modes. Okay, that's an overview of using the Quick Selection tool in Photoshop.